All right, we're back. This is one that I think a lot of you have been waiting for. It is going to be whether a replica dial or an authentic dial, although I don't know why you would do an authentic. It doesn't make a lot of sense because the authentic comes with an ETA movement. But the replicas, the counterfeit ones, the MoonSwatches, they come with a Sunon PE50 movement. And, it's not the greatest movement. It's got its pros and its cons, but it's not the best that you could possibly have. So what I wanted to see was whether or not you could remove the dial and the hands off of a Sunon PE50 movement, and instead you could use a Seiko VK68 movement instead. Now, according to the spec sheets, the VK68 has, what do you call it? They have subdials that are 7.5 millimeters from the center. And they're in the same configuration as the Sunon PE50, which also has subdials that are 7.5 millimeters from the center. So on paper, assuming the angles are the same on both, it seems like they would work. The only problem is going to be is that the Sunon PE50 has, I'll get my little tweezers to point here. The Sunon PE50 has stem, or I don't know what you call them, stanchions, posts that stick into the movement at different positions. This one is at 31, if you notice here. So this is 30, around 31, and on the top it is about 4. So 4 minutes past the hour and 31 minutes past the hour, where the VK68, which I might add also, the VK68 has the same dimensions and it has the same stem. It has the same pretty much everything as the VK63, which the case that we've been using is designed for. So the movement holder for the VK63 watch cases should work for a VK68, but I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So anyway, the posts on a VK68 or a VK63 for that matter, are at it's like the 57 minutes past the hour and somewhere around the 24 or 25 minutes past the hour. So either way you look at it, they're in the wrong position. So we're going to have to take the posts, the dial posts off of this one, and either use what is the correct way is to use these little stanchions. You're supposed to do. See, these are after. If you need to reposition posts, this is what you would use. I'm trying to get this in focus. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, they're little glue on, but they're also supposed to be weld on. Either way you do it, little dial posts to reposition your posts in the positions necessary. This is the correct way to do it. You're supposed to mill out the back of the dial to have a little circle that these set into, that little pad that they sit on. I'm just trying to see if I can get this in focus. I'm not sure if it's doing this. I'm sorry if it's not. But they're about 0.1 millimeter thick, and so in order to get this flush with the back of the dial, you'd want to mill that in. It's a process. It's obviously an advanced watchmaker's procedure. You can either glue these straight on. You don't have to mill it out. If you want, you're just going to be sitting 0.1 millimeters higher off the movement than you would before. But, I'm going to be the lazy guy because we're dealing with, quartz watches here and not really high-end, movements like Rolexes or anything like that. So the other option is just to take some 3M two-sided tape like we've done in previous videos. Just take a little tiny piece of it, 2 pieces, one on either side of the dial, and just affix it that way. That way it's secure. Because once this is in the watch movement, it gets, sandwiched in, and it doesn't really move around too much, vertically speaking. The reason you put dial posts in is to keep it from rotating, and that two-sided tape does just enough of a job as any post would do. The only thing about two-sided tape, and the reason why it's frowned upon, is because getting this dial off at any point is going to be a little more difficult. But if you just use a little tiny piece, it's not the end of the world. It's not that hard to remove. I've done it before. So, pros and cons. amateur, professional, whatever you want to say. The easier way to do it is just to use two-sided tape. So that's what we're going to do today, assuming these dials, sub-dials line up. So this may be a really short video if it doesn't, and if it does, then it'll be more than that. So let's get started. First of all, I want to remove the, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm using this one because it's an old, not so great replica. This is just to see if it works. But also it stopped working. I don't know why. I haven't really figured that out. I don't really want to. So this is a perfect candidate. Let's see if we can get it to good. I'm going to put all the hands in the same position so they're easier to pull off all at once. And let's get those hands off and the dial off, and then we'll go from there. Let me put this over here, kind of get it out of the way a little bit, and we'll get started. All right, so we're going to use piece of plastic and our two hand removal tools. Here we go. I'm going to just put these into a case of some sort so that they're secured. We're going to do the same thing with the sub-dial hands. They are a little smaller, a little harder to get in under, but if you take your time. They're not that hard. There you go, all three hands. Now, I might add, I don't know if you noticed this over here, but the hands for a Sunon PE50 movement are not the same dimensions as for a VK68, so we needed to get a new set of hands. These set of hands I found for only a few dollars on AliExpress. I can leave a link in the description. Yeah, and they look almost identical as far as I can tell. Pretty close. They're pretty good replicas for what we're looking at. And that's what we're going to be putting onto the movement if this all lines up like it's supposed to. So now that that's off, we get a small little flathead screwdriver. Just gently get between that dial and the movement and just give it a little nudge where that foot is. Remember, it's at the 4 past the hour and the 31 past the hour. Do it little by little, one by one, and then eventually that dial will just fall off. All right, one more. There we go. Okay, so that's the Sunon let me say that again. So that's the Sunon PE50 movement. We're going to set that aside. Maybe even put it in this box here. And then this is the dial. Notice those feet. It's at the 4 minutes past the hour and the about 31, maybe 32 minutes past the hour, which does not line up with that movement. So we're going to break those off. I think we've done this in a different video, but I'll show you how to do that. But first, before we do that, I want to make sure that this is going to line up. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to gently, like I said, I don't care about this dial, so we're just going to gently see if it lines up on this movement like this. It's not going to work, is it? Because those are elevated in the reverse and you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm going to just break off these feet and we'll go full tilt and no turning back. So to break off these little feet, they're usually pretty easy on almost every dial I've ever dealt with. You just take a little pair of pliers and just gently rock them back and forth a couple times, 1, 2, 3, and they just come right off. They're quite delicate in that regard, so if you're ever adjusting these, bending in one way or another, just know that they're going to come off pretty easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they come off. So super easy, not a hard thing to do. Okay, now the moment of truth. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and hopefully I can keep you in frame when I do that. Let's see. Okay, so as we know, this is the 3 o'clock position. Oop, let me get it in frame here. This is the 3 o'clock position, and we are going to set this 3 o'clock position. We're going to lay this on here. Well, it would appear as if, sorry, I'm off frame. It would appear as if we're not lining up for some reason. Okay, so the problem is that despite the fact that this is the subdial post, and I'm going to get nice and close here and see if you can see it. This subdial post for the 2 o'clock position, even though it's the same 7.5 millimeters from the center to the post, just like the dial, and I can show you that if you want. I'm trying to get this as close as I can. There you go. It's about 7.5. Sorry, I'm on frame here. So that's about 7.5 from the center to that subdial. Despite that being the case, and despite this being, again, we'll do this again, the same 7.5 millimeters, almost exactly. Well, I'm not in frame here. Let's try that again. Yeah, they're exactly 7 point. They're exactly the same distance from the center post going out, but it appears as if the angle that these 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock subdials are at are just slightly lower on the VK68 than on the PE50. So the PE50 would be, so you see the post, the 2 o'clock position here. The 2 o'clock subdial post is right here. So on the Sunon, that post would be somewhere around here. 7.5 millimeters still, but in a different, slightly different position. So that's the answer. The answer is short and sweet, that a VK68 Seiko movement will not work on at least the Sunon PE50 layout. Those angles, it's hard to tell unless you actually put a dial into it. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't think that's going to be something that we can fix, obviously, unless we re-drill our posts, and then it would just look weird. Or re-drill our holes for the posts, and that would just look weird. And then the subdial, oops, I'm not in frame here. I keep forgetting I'm zoomed in. Let me zoom back out. So yeah, we're not going to do that because then your post would look weird. So that's it. That's the end of the video. I apologize. I thought this would work, and that would have been much more exciting and much more successful, or much more productive, but it does not. So anybody's wondering, the Seiko VK68 movement does not work with the replica MoonSwatch dial. I did it here first. I did it for you. Unfortunately, I pulled the post off of this, but it's a really bad dial anyway. I don't really like this. I can't even remember where I got it, but the loom looks weird. It does not look like an original. So I'll keep this in my parts store. Maybe I'll find something to do with it. And I'll have to make some sort of build with this now using an authentic, not authentic, but an actual VK68 dial. Maybe I'll do a short video about how to make a VK68 watch of some sort. I'll get a dial for it and we'll do it. Nevertheless, thanks for watching. Sorry this didn't work out well. Next will be seeing if I can put a genuine MoonSwatch into a Pagani design case, a little thinner case. So stick around. That's going to be the next video we do. And until we do that, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I always appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next one.